Hey you, welcome to my channel. I'm Tori. I talk about personal wellness and healing. I'm not gonna lie, it's been super hard to be consistent and post and even make videos because I'm in school right now. I have an internship, I work. It's tough because I'm so drained all the time and, trying to fit in self-care, trying to fit in my homework, my studying. I'm so passionate about the journey that I'm on. I'm going to school for counseling. I should get my master's in a few short months. So right now I work at a treatment center. I'm a counselor for adults with substance use disorders and mental health issues. It's been a very interesting experience to bridge this gap between client and counselor. Like now I'm switching sides and it's been really nice to experience. It's definitely surreal that I've made it as far as I have, and it's also really nice to finally be able to get back because this is something that is the closest to my heart that probably anything's ever been. I can't see myself doing anything else as a career. It's a lot of investment in so many ways. This is just always something I feel like that has called me. Not like I'm choosing a career, but it feels like that this field chose me. And I think that's really special. It's nice to feel like I'm learning because when I first entered my graduate program, it was really hard to feel like I already knew so much already going into it. Having so much experience as a client, I started going to therapy at a very young age. I think maybe 12. I started being on medication at 15. I started going to a bunch of different rehabs and psych units at 16. I struggled as a child for a very long time even before I entered therapy. And that ranges from a bunch of different mental health conditions, which I'll probably get into at some point. So it's been very, very comforting to actually feel like I'm still learning and I have a lot to learn. Because at first I was really kind of disappointed and it almost felt like I was just waiting for everyone else in my class or in the program to catch up to where I was and to to accumulate knowledge that I already knew or to understand concepts that I had already known for years at that point. It's hard to feel like you could teach a certain class or a certain topic or a certain issue when you just want to be a student and learn more about it and not feel like you can be the one to teach it. And so I feel like that was definitely the place I was in the first year of my experience. Now that I have some time and working in the field, it's really refreshing and it's really helping me feel like there's just so much more out there for me to know and understand about people, about certain behaviors, about certain specializations I could go into. And I think that as a newer grad student a few years ago, I was so eager and hungry to learn, and I just felt so disappointed when I felt like I wasn't really getting the knowledge that I was craving. I think that that disappointment ultimately subconsciously created a block for me also, because if I reach a point where I feel like, oh, I'm disappointed, I'm not learning as much as I want to, I probably won't. And I'm very big on what you believe you become and retraining your thoughts to reflect what you want to see. Because that's worked for me. That's something that's been a helpful skill for me that I've acquired, not only in my healing, but in my life, and applying it to a bunch of different areas. But if you have repetitive thoughts that come up, or fears, or doubts, or anything like that, and it's just over and over, you're gonna believe it, and that's gonna be your reality. And of course, as with anything, there's context there, and it's not gonna apply to everything. There's always gonna be an outlier situation. The most basic example I can think of that I tell other people is the automatic negative thoughts that we have about ourselves. This is such a good example because we really do have the ability to change the way we think and feel about ourselves, like basic CBT. We're not born hating ourselves. So if we've accumulated or learned to dislike ourselves as children or growing up, whatever, and then we start to tell ourselves those messages like that because that's what we believe to be true. So if we're telling ourselves over and over, I'm stupid, I'm worthless, I hate myself, I'm ugly, I'm, anything, then we're gonna believe it. And then we're gonna essentially be insecure, exude that energy, probably attract people that are not healthy because we're not healthy. And I feel like that's why it can be really hard to retrain your thoughts because one of the tools I used in like the early stages of trying to love myself and think better about myself is it feels like a lie. When you say positive things about yourself, when you look in the mirror, when you treat yourself better, it feels fake, it feels like you don't deserve it, it doesn't feel genuine, and it's not going to. Um, but essentially, like, you tell yourself over and over, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm kind, I'm special, like, anything that works for that person, you start to over and over actually feel that way, and that's a very like condensed, simplified version. Um, but yeah, that's definitely something that I feel like does work and does take practice, and I think that's the key here is like these things are practices, and you don't stop doing them, you just keep doing them. Um, and it just gets easier. Your beliefs about yourself will change, how you act towards yourself will change, the ability, how able you are to take care of yourself will be a layer, and how much you like yourself and your self worth will grow. And of course, this isn't the only tool. It's definitely something that I needed and used to develop that. So I'm grateful that I do what I do and that I do work in the field for so many reasons. I think that I started because I just genuinely wanted to help people. I always wanted to do something with my career that helped others, whether it was a nurse, whether it was like a therapist, a caregiver. I think that that's just like was in my nature and felt natural to me. I've just always liked helping people, and I've always felt connected to people, and it was easy for me to relate to just about anyone, especially as a child. So as soon as I knew that this was a career that you could talk to people and help people as a career, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to look into that. When I started having my own serious mental health struggles and actually had to start going to treatment centers and going in and out and doing the whole like that being a lifestyle, um, whatever came with it, all the negative behaviors, like that's a lifestyle, going to treatment, that's a lifestyle. Then I just really wanted to understand myself better. I really wanted to understand what I was going through better and how it affected other people. And that was a big motivator to continuing to want to be educated in the field. Now that I'm here, I feel like I just want to give back. I want to be the person that provides the help that helped me, that saved me, that changed my life for the better. And the best part is that because I've overcome so much and I'm living in recovery and I'm like living proof, and it's so honest, and it's so like it's beyond survival, it's thriving and truly embracing what health really means and what health is, getting to know who I am as a healthy person. It's really nice to finally actually be able to provide people with what I got as a client and keep working towards that and keep learning. Everything that I'm learning in counseling and everything that I'm um, like promoting in a sense, or like how I'm providing support to these people and these clients is exactly what helps me. It's so cool that I get to resource concepts and therapeutic tools and techniques and skills that I use on a daily basis right now that helps me keep me in recovery, in healing, not just surviving but thriving. And it really is just like one of those full circle moments. It's interesting because I don't feel like I'm completely there yet because I'm not. I'm still need to get my degree and all that, but I'm on my way and it makes me feel really like it's still kind of surreal. So I started this channel a little over a month ago, and I was on winter break, so I had a lot more time to make videos and stuff. I'm gonna try to keep talking about it. I'm gonna try to keep feeling inspired and work on stress management and work on my fatigue also during this program and self care because um, well, not only because I practice what I preach and I gotta hold myself to that, but also because I really do want to be able to share these experiences. And I don't only want to do that in a therapeutic setting, but I live by these things. If I can help anyone else and if I can like share a tidbit or an insight here or there and provide advice that I can't really outwardly provide advice in counseling. It is a different technique to be a counselor than to just give advice. But here I can kind of do that. One thing about me, especially about what I've learned about recovery and healing and just working on yourself and your personal wellness and growth, is that I'm not a gatekeeper. And I truly do live by what I say, and because it saves my life. And I notice that when I lack the practice, let's just say a day or two goes by and I'm stuck in bed and I haven't, been up on my routine and my room's a mess, whatever. Like little things like that can be really easy to accumulate or stay stuck. Um, like especially when there's a history of mental health issues or any type of struggle, physical health issues. It can easily go from like 3 days, 4 days of like bed rot to like weeks to months of like a depressive episode or something like that. Just an example, but thankfully, like I haven't personally had to experience that in years now. But that's why I think it's so important for me to talk about this stuff because the things that I talk about are what keeps me out of that. Sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things to do, but it's gonna be really rewarding. I can promise that, absolutely, because the things that feel like a chore for a while are gonna stop feeling so much like work and like debilitating to care for yourself and to show up for yourself and to like yourself and to love yourself. It's gonna feel a lot less like a chore and a lot more like natural. And a lot more like, no, I want to do this for myself because I deserve it. I want to show myself love. I want to give myself support because I'm lonely and I wanna show myself love. Like how uncomfortable does that make you to think about for yourself? I've been on such a good path for so long that sometimes it can be hard to go back and remember, um, if I really think about it, I can. I'm also like, I branded myself kind of as like a recovering empath because it was so difficult for me to detach myself from other people and their emotions and their energies, and to the point where it was so unhealthy that it was like I would get physically sick and I wouldn't be able to differentiate my own emotions from other people's. Like it would be, you really think that you actually feel the way another person feels. That's also been interesting for me on this journey, is like trying to put myself back in that position, and remember, it's less about empathy and more about just trying to remember more of how I felt so that I can like pull from it to give some feedback or advice on too. Um, because some of the things I say when I'm trying to like motivate, I realized, whether it's like my friends that might still be struggling or, just anything like that. Sometimes I notice myself and what I say, like I can see my old unhealed self rolling her eyes at me. Like she probably would have been like, Tori, it's not that easy. Like, come on. Like you act like it's so easy now and like life is such so dandy and like um what a privilege it is to not feel this way, but I do, and I like you're just so stuck, and there's like a certain, yeah, I'm having a hard time articulating it. There is so much possibility in the growth, and I think that it can be intimidating because if you've lived in a certain mindset for so long, and you're challenged on it, you don't want to feel invalidated. It's almost like being told that you can change it, can seem invalidating because you're like, well, I would change it if I could. Like, duh, I've tried everything. Like, why would I want to feel this way? It's hard to know that we have more control than we think we do, but it's also hard to understand how, because these are mental illnesses, like they are mental conditions. Um, but that doesn't mean that there's no progress to be made, or you can only get better to a certain extent. Like I don't feel comfortable even saying that. I think that we can always be better people. There's no finish line. We can always do better for ourselves. There's no like, oh, I'm healed. Like, this is ongoing. We're human beings. Um, just like you're never gonna know everything there is to know in life before you go. Like, there's no limit on healing. And that's a good thing. That used to really overwhelm me. Um, like as a kid, I would be like, oh my god, I'm gonna die without knowing everything there is to know in the world. And like, I know it sounds bizarre, but yeah, that used to really overwhelm me, and it used to really overwhelm me to know that, oh wow, I'm gonna have to be healing or in recovery like forever, like, but it's not always gonna be this hard, and it's not always gonna like look the same. I think that life is just that much harder when you do have things against you. Like life is hard for everybody. If life is one thing, is that it's not fair. It's just that much harder when you have things working against you, whether it's a war in your own head, whether it's systematic, finances, discrimination, trauma, disability, like physical and mental health, grief. Grief doesn't discriminate. These issues don't discriminate. It can happen to anybody at any time, like any of these life things. And it's not these things that make us strong or anything like that, or even create our identity, in my opinion. In my opinion, and from what I've experienced and from everybody I've met throughout like my life of being around these communities and seeing recovery and seeing growth and healing in such a profound way, um, I think that the way you choose to heal and the fact that people choose to heal and how we look to overcome and live and thrive through it has a lot more to do with our identity or our strength, than the events themselves or than the trauma themselves or the adversity themselves. I heard this quote and it was like, your healing journey is as unique as a fingerprint. And I love that because we create it. It's going to look different for everybody. I could sit here, I could give advice, I could give suggestions just like I can as a counselor. I could give tools, I could give suggestions, I could give support, but the healing journey and what that looks like and what helps each individual person is very unique. And knowing that there's no end to it is a lot less overwhelming and it's a lot more freeing because that means that there's no limit to how much better I can feel. There's no limit to how much better I can be. If I don't like something about myself, I can always change it and or work on changing it. When I have shortcomings, when I make mistakes, those are really good opportunities to work with. And so it's not fun to feel like I know everything and like there's nothing else for me to learn and I feel like I am so much more aware than other people and um have a certain life experience that I can't relate to people with. Like it's not fun to feel that way and have that dynamic in my head. So now when I have opportunities to work on stuff, I'm like, oh great, this is something I can actually work with instead of feeling like I've reached this point that that's it. There's no going up. And that's also something that perspective is also something that came with like certain parts of the healing too. I don't think that any part of your healing is ever going to be wrong. Um, People will tell you so many things from their own experience, and it might work for you too, and it might only work for you for a certain period of time, or it might not work for you at all. I don't think you'll ever go wrong with trying different things out, or trying the same things and revisiting things that haven't worked before. They might work now that you're in a different place, or something like that. It's a similar idea of like if you're at a 10 out of 10 with anxiety, the same coping skill that might get you from a 10 to a 7 might not be the same coping skill that gets you from a 7 out of 10 of anxiety to a 4 and then bring you down to a 0. Like, same with healing. Maybe meditation works for you for like 2 years and then it just stops working. And then you try other coping skills like journaling or bubble baths or, just examples. And then maybe you revisit meditation 5 years later and then it works again. So take these things with a grain of salt or just like, explore with what you think would match. Again, it's a practice, and not for nothing, but some of these skills aren't going to work until they work, if that makes sense. So, if you try journaling, you know, every day for a few weeks and it's not working, maybe just keep trying. Or, like, again, like, take it with a grain of salt if that's really not what you want to do. But for example, for me, meditation has always been hard for me. And for me, I feel like that says something about me, maybe. I don't know. So it's just for years, like for over like 10 years now. Um, it's been super hard for me to do meditation. But when I do have those slight moments of it working and benefiting from it, that's worth it, and that's a practice. So it could not work for like 50 times, but in 10 times it does work, and I am reaping great benefits from that, and I'm not losing anything from trying it and it not working. And you never know, maybe you don't see the benefits of it right away. I think that's a lot of what we struggle with, is like not seeing instant gratification or that instant relief. Unfortunately, this process takes a lot of consistency and it takes a lot of patience. Two things that are, I would argue, the hardest in recovery: consistency, patience. And those are keys, in my opinion. If I were to like write a book, I would say those are two keys to healing and recovery. Um, yeah. So I hope you guys got something from this. If anyone has any questions or feedback or input as to what's helping you, any topics you want me to discuss next, I'm trying to be more consistent with posting and checking in more, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for being here.